Lakeview was a town straight out of a postcard. Nestled by a serene lake and surrounded by dense woods, it was the kind of place where time seemed to stand still. Families picnicked by the water, kids rode their bikes through quiet streets, and neighbors greeted each other with warm smiles. But beneath its picturesque exterior, Lakeview was harboring a chilling secret, a secret that would surface one fateful autumn night with the murder of 22-year-old college student Sarah Mitchell. The crime shocked the small community, shattering the illusion of safety that had defined Lakeview for decades. As police delved into the mystery, they uncovered a tangled web of lies, betrayal, and obsession that would ultimately reveal a killer hiding in plain sight. It was a crisp October evening when Sarah was last seen. She had been at a small gathering with friends at a lakeside cabin, laughing and sharing stories around a bonfire. Around 10 p.m., she left to take a walk by the lake, saying she needed some air. She never came back. The next morning, her body was found floating near the dock, her lifeless form tangled in the reeds. She had been strangled, and her clothes were torn, suggesting a struggle. On the muddy shoreline, investigators found faint footprints leading into the woods, as though the killer had fled after dumping her body. Sarah's death sent shockwaves through Lakeview. She was a beloved figure in the community, kind, intelligent, and full of promise. Her murder left the town reeling, desperate for answers. As detectives began piecing together Sarah's final moments, they zeroed in on 3 primary suspects, each with a potential motive. Jake had dated Sarah for 2 years before their tumultuous relationship ended a few months prior to her death. Friends described their breakup as messy, with Jake struggling to move on. Some reported seeing him at the bonfire that night, though he hadn't been invited. Did his lingering feelings turn deadly? Lisa had been Sarah's best friend since childhood, but their relationship had grown strained in recent months. Witnesses claimed Lisa was visibly upset at the bonfire, glaring at Sarah whenever she spoke. Some even overheard her accusing Sarah of always stealing the spotlight. Was jealousy the driving force behind the crime? Tom was an older man who lived alone on the edge of the lake, earning a reputation as the town's eccentric recluse. He was known to take long, solitary walks in the woods late at night. A witness reported seeing a figure matching Tom's description near the cabin around the time Sarah disappeared. Did he cross paths with her and take advantage of the opportunity? Detectives began by interviewing everyone at the bonfire. Most of Sarah's friends provided consistent accounts of the evening, confirming that Sarah had seemed happy and relaxed. However, Jake's behavior stood out. Multiple witnesses recalled seeing him arrive uninvited and linger on the outskirts of the gathering, watching Sarah from a distance. He left shortly after she did, but his alibi that he went straight home couldn't be verified. Lisa, meanwhile, admitted to feeling upset at the bonfire but denied any involvement in Sarah's death. She claimed she went home early and hadn't spoken to Sarah after their argument. Still, her jealous outbursts made detectives suspicious, especially when they discovered a series of angry texts Lisa had sent Sarah in the days leading up to her death. Tom Grayson was harder to pin down. When questioned, he admitted to being near the lake that night but claimed he didn't see or hear anything unusual. His cryptic demeanor and isolated lifestyle made him an easy target for suspicion, but there was no concrete evidence linking him to the crime. The case hinged on a series of key discoveries. Number 1. The muddy footprints found near Sarah's body were larger than her own, indicating a male suspect. However, they were too distorted to match to a specific person. Number 2. The necklace, a delicate silver necklace Sarah always wore, was missing, leading detectives to believe the killer might have taken it as a trophy. Number 3. The scratches forensic analysis revealed fresh scratches on Sarah's arms consistent with a struggle. Under her fingernails, they found traces of skin and blood DNA that would soon provide a breakthrough. The DNA analysis took weeks, and during that time, tensions in Lakeview reached a boiling point. Many in the community believed Jake was guilty, pointing to his erratic behavior and history with Sarah. Others suspected Tom, whose reclusive nature made him an easy scapegoat. Meanwhile, Lisa's friends rallied around her, dismissing the idea that she could harm someone she had known her entire life. When the DNA results finally came back, they revealed a shocking twist: the blood under Sarah's fingernails didn't match any of the primary suspects. Instead, it belonged to a fourth person, someone who hadn't been on the police's radar at all. The DNA matched 27-year-old Brian Carter, a bartender who had served Sarah and her friends earlier that evening. Brian was known for his friendly demeanor and had no prior criminal record, making him an unlikely suspect. However, surveillance footage from the bar showed him watching Sarah closely throughout the night, his gaze lingering a little too long. Under questioning, Brian cracked. He confessed to following Sarah after she left the bonfire, claiming he only wanted to talk when she rejected his advances and tried to walk away. He snapped, strangling her in a fit of rage. Panicked, he dragged her body to the lake and fled into the woods, leaving behind the faint trail of footprints. Brian also admitted to taking Sarah's necklace, which police later found hidden in his car. The motive was clear: his obsession with Sarah had spiraled into violence when he couldn't have her. Brian Carter was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His confession brought some closure to the Mitchell family, but the scars of Sarah's death lingered in Lakeview. The idyllic town had been forever changed, its innocence shattered by the realization that danger could lurk anywhere, even in the heart of a seemingly perfect community. Jake, Lisa, and Tom were cleared of all suspicion, but the experience left them shaken. Jake moved away, unable to face the whispers and sideways glances. Lisa dedicated herself to raising awareness about violence against women, turning her pain into a mission to honor her friend's memory. Tom returned to his solitary life, more reclusive than ever but relieved to have his name cleared. As the years passed, Lakeview began to heal. A memorial bench was placed near the lake in Sarah's honor, engraved with the words "Forever in our hearts." But for those who knew her, the tragedy would never be forgotten, a haunting reminder of how one act of violence can ripple through an entire community.